You walk into the grocery store looking for chicken. You are standing in front of the meat counter, and the refrigerated section is packed with packages arranged by brand and price point. The labels say things like all-natural, farm-raised, antibiotic-free, hormone-free, and raised with care and compassion. You grab what feels like the better option because the packaging looks trustworthy and professional. The branding suggests quality and ethical practices. The price is higher than the cheapest option available, so you feel confident that you are making the smart choice for your family. You put it in your cart and move on with your shopping without thinking twice about it. But the moment you stop trusting the front of the package and start reading the actual ingredient panel, checking where the chicken actually comes from, examining what injected broth and added sodium really mean, and understanding what the critical difference is between what a label promises on the front and what the formulation actually delivers on the back, the entire category fractures. Most chicken in the mainstream grocery store is not what you think it is. Some of it has never actually seen the outdoor conditions described on the packaging. Some of it has been pumped full of saltwater brine that the label obscures through vague language and marketing positioning. Some of it comes from operations that actively violate the very claims made prominently on the front of the package. And the brands that look most trustworthy, the ones with heritage positioning and pastoral imagery and premium pricing, are often the ones being the most systematically deceptive. This is not about a handful of bad brands making shortcuts. This is about how an entire category has been deliberately engineered to sell you confidence while delivering something fundamentally different from what you are led to believe through the marketing. The biggest mistake most shoppers make is trusting the front of the package without question or investigation. The second biggest mistake is not understanding what specific words on a chicken package actually mean legally or do not mean legally. The third biggest mistake is assuming that higher price automatically means better sourcing, better living conditions for the birds, or better nutritional quality. These assumptions are emotionally comfortable. They let you feel good about your purchasing choices without actually investigating them critically. But they're almost universally wrong when it comes to chicken and poultry products. The chicken industry has mastered the art of creating trust and confidence through carefully selected imagery and emotionally persuasive language, while maintaining production practices that directly contradict what that imagery and language visually suggest. Heritage breeds marketed prominently on packages come from massive industrial facilities housing tens of thousands of birds. Farm-raised chickens claiming generous outdoor access spend their entire lives in windowless warehouses. Antibiotic-free claims that sound progressive and health-conscious are achieved through technical loopholes that do not mean what your intuition tells you they mean. The gap between what the front label promises and what the ingredient panel reveals is so enormous that once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And once you cannot unsee it, you cannot go back to trusting the branding without investigation. Here are 7 chicken brands you should stop buying immediately. Not because the chicken is inedible or actively dangerous to eat, but because the marketing is systematically deceiving you about what you are actually getting. These are the brands creating the biggest trust gaps between promise and reality. These are the ones where the branding most aggressively contradicts what is actually in the package and how it was actually produced. Understanding these 7 will teach you how to evaluate every other chicken brand you encounter in any store. The first brand to stop buying is Perdue. This is one of the most recognizable and trusted chicken brands in America. The packaging shows pastoral imagery of farms and nature. A farmer appears prominently on the label. The messaging emphasizes quality and personal care. The price point is notably higher than conventional chicken. But here is the reality. Perdue chickens are raised in massive industrial operations where tens of thousands of individual birds are housed in single facilities. The birds are genetically selected for rapid growth to maximize production efficiency, which means they suffer from leg problems and heart issues from the unnaturally fast speed of their growth. The label claims the chicken is farm-raised, but farm-raised has no legal definition. It does not mean outdoor access. It does not mean humane conditions. It simply means the chicken was raised on a farm as opposed to wild-caught, which would be impossible for chickens anyway. The branding has created an image of careful, family farm agriculture that the actual industrial production completely contradicts. You are paying a premium for imagery and marketing, not for different conditions or better treatment of animals. Now flip to the ingredient panel on the back. Perdue chicken breasts contain up to 15% added broth. This is sodium-laden liquid injected directly into the meat to increase weight and moisture retention. The label says the chicken is enhanced, which is a euphemism for added ingredients. But the front of the package does not tell you that a significant portion of what you are paying for is actually saltwater brine. You are paying chicken prices for something that is part chicken and part brine solution. The trust gap between the peaceful pastoral farm imagery on the front and the industrial warehouse reality is absolutely enormous. You think you are buying premium quality chicken from careful farming. You are actually buying an industrial product marketed and packaged as though it came from a small family farm. Now contrast that with a genuinely different approach to chicken production. Pasture-raised chicken from actual small farms, where you can specifically identify the farm and verify the practices yourself, costs significantly more money. But you know exactly what you are getting. You can physically visit the farm. You can see the actual conditions. The label is not hiding anything because the product and the branding are aligned with reality. The chicken actually spent its entire life outdoors on pasture. The stocking density is actually low. The growth is actually slower, resulting in more flavorful meat and fewer health and welfare issues in the birds. But this costs substantially more and is harder to find in mainstream stores. The second brand to stop buying is Tyson. This is the largest chicken producer in the world by volume. The brand has been remarkably successful at positioning itself as mainstream and affordable, while still suggesting quality through various marketing angles and product positioning. Some Tyson products claim to be all natural, but all natural on a chicken package means absolutely nothing from a regulatory standpoint. The USDA allows any chicken raised conventionally to be labeled all natural as long as it has not been processed with artificial ingredients after slaughter. The label does not address the genetics, the stocking density, the use of antibiotics, or the actual living conditions of the birds. Tyson chickens are raised in conditions identical to Purdue chickens. The scale is actually even larger. The industrial reality is completely identical, but the branding is more subtle and understated, so it feels less aggressively deceptive, when in fact it is simply more effectively deceptive through subtlety and understatement. The ingredient panel on Tyson products often lists sodium tripolyphosphate as an ingredient. This is a chemical preservative and moisture-retaining agent added to chicken to artificially increase weight and shelf life. You are paying by weight, so this directly increases your total cost for an ingredient that does not add nutritional value and primarily serves the manufacturer by increasing profit margins and reducing waste. The front of the package does not mention this addition. The branding emphasizes freshness and quality. But the ingredient panel reveals that the product has been chemically treated for commercial purposes and shelf stability and extended distribution. By comparison, actual pastured chicken from producers that do not inject solutions or add chemical preservatives simply lists chicken as the ingredient. The flavor is noticeably different, the texture is different, the nutrient profile is different, but the label is not misleading because the product matches what the branding suggests. There are no hidden ingredients. There are no chemical enhancers or moisture retention additives. The third brand to stop buying is Foster Farms. This is a regional brand that has positioned itself as having genuine heritage and family ownership. The packaging design suggests a smaller, more caring operation. The price is slightly lower than Purdue, but still positioned as a quality alternative to cheaper conventional brands. But the reality is that Foster Farms is a massive industrial operation. The chickens are raised at conventional density in conventional windowless warehouses. The family ownership is real, but it is a family that owns an industrial operation, not a small traditional farm. The label says the chicken is raised with care, but care in this context has a very specific industry definition that bears no resemblance to what consumers imagine when they read that word on packaging. Foster Farms chicken also often contains added solutions for moisture and preservation. The ingredient panel lists water and sodium phosphate as added ingredients. This is injected broth again, just listed with different chemical terminology. The front of the package emphasizes that the chicken is fresh and natural, but the ingredient panel reveals that the product has been injected with fluid to increase weight and stability. The disconnect between the branding and the actual reality is significant and deliberate. You think you are buying a family-owned alternative to the massive industrial producers. You are actually buying a family-owned massive industrial producer. Fourth brand to stop buying is Bell & Evans. This brand has strategically positioned itself as the premium alternative to all other conventional brands. The packaging is more sophisticated and upscale. The price is notably higher. The messaging emphasizes that the chicken is raised without antibiotics, that it has access to outdoor space, and that it comes from higher welfare farms. This is arguably the most deceptive brand on the market because it is the one that sounds the most credible and progressive. Bell & Evans does not add injected solutions to their chicken, which is one legitimate difference from other major brands. But the outdoor access claim is technically true while practically false for the vast majority of birds. The chickens do technically have access to an outdoor area, but in a massive facility housing tens of thousands of birds, the outdoor area is small and heavily crowded, and most birds never actually go outside. The antibiotic-free claim is achieved by using probiotics and other supplements instead of antibiotics, but the overall conditions remain identical to conventional operations. You are paying significantly more for marginal improvements in conditions while genuinely believing you are buying ethically raised chicken with better welfare. By comparison, certified humane chicken meets third-party standards that require specific stocking densities, specific outdoor access space, and specific ongoing monitoring and verification. The certification is verified by independent auditors who inspect facilities regularly. The labeling is transparent about what the certification actually means and requires. You are not paying premium prices for a marketing story. You are paying for verified improvements in conditions backed by third parties. The fifth brand to stop buying is Pilgrim's Pride. This is another massive industrial producer that has successfully positioned itself as a quality alternative through various clever branding strategies. Different product lines within Pilgrim's use different marketing angles and narratives. Some emphasize heritage breeds, some claim organic certification, some claim all-natural status. But the underlying production methods are industrially identical across all product lines. The heritage breed claim is technically true if the genetics trace back to heritage breeds historically, but the chickens have been modified through decades of selective breeding for rapid growth, so they no longer resemble the original heritage breeds in any meaningful way whatsoever. The branding creates an image of agricultural tradition and legacy that bears absolutely no resemblance to the reality. The ingredient panel on conventional Pilgrim's chicken often shows added water and salt. This is injected broth again, disguised with different terminology. The front of the package emphasizes quality and care. The back reveals the injection and additives. The trust gap exists because the brand is deliberately relying on you not reading and comparing both sides of the package. The sixth brand to stop buying is Sanderson Farms. This is a smaller operation than Tyson or Pilgrim's, but it is still a massive industrial producer by any reasonable definition. The branding has emphasized that the company has not used antibiotics since the 1990s, which sounds like a progressive and enlightened practice. But Sanderson Farms has simply replaced antibiotics with other medications and preventive supplements and additives. The overall health outcomes for the birds are not necessarily meaningfully better. You are paying attention to a single metric, antibiotic use, while the overall conditions and density remain conventionally industrial. The label reads as a progressive and health-conscious choice, but the actual improvement in bird welfare or product quality is minimal. The seventh and final brand to stop buying is Organic Valley Chicken. This is positioned as the ethical and premium option at the top of the market. Organic certification means the feed is certified organic and antibiotics are not used. It does not mean the conditions are significantly better than conventional operations. Organic certified chickens can still be raised at high density in warehouse conditions. The bird may eat organic feed, but it may never see sunlight or have meaningful outdoor access. The price reflects the certification cost and premium positioning, not a meaningful difference in living conditions or nutritional quality. You are paying a significant premium for a certification that is real but represents less meaningful improvement than the premium branding suggests. Now you understand the 7 deception patterns in the mainstream chicken market. The front label promises one narrative. The ingredient panel and the actual production reality deliver something very different. Heritage imagery, all-natural claims, antibiotic-free messaging, farm-raised positioning, and outdoor access claims all create a mental image that the actual conditions do not match. This happens systematically because the industry has learned how to use language that is technically true while being practically false and misleading. Here is the framework that separates real chicken claims from marketing deception. When you pick up a package of chicken, check 4 fundamental things. First, flip to the ingredient panel and read what is actually listed. If you see water, sodium phosphate, salt, or sodium tripolyphosphate, the chicken has been injected with brine solution. The front label does not advertise this injection, but it is required to be listed in the ingredients. Second, understand what certifications actually mean and what they do not guarantee. All natural is meaningless from a regulatory standpoint. Antibiotic-free does not guarantee better living conditions. Organic means the feed is certified organic, not that the conditions are humane. Certified humane and animal welfare approved are the only certifications that require third-party verification of actual living conditions. Third, recognize that farm-raised, naturally raised, and similar terms have either no legal definition or minimal legal definition with loopholes. They do not indicate anything meaningful about actual conditions. Fourth, check whether the brand discloses specific information about where the chicken comes from and under what conditions it is raised. If the branding emphasizes imagery and emotional language but provides no specific information about the farms or conditions, you are being marketed to, not informed. The vast majority of chicken you will encounter in mainstream grocery stores fails at least 2 of these checks. Most fails all 4 checks. This is why only 4 brands consistently pass all the checks and questions. Not because those 4 brands are absolutely perfect, but because the industry standard is to deliberately obscure information through vague language and imagery while the ingredient panel tells a different story. The brands that still align their labeling with their actual reality are the ones willing to be specific, willing to submit to third-party verification, and willing to accept that transparency sometimes means lower perceived premium positioning. Here are the 4 chicken brands that are actually real and aligned with their marketing. First, pasture-raised chicken from local farms where you know the producer passes all 4 checks. You can visit the farm. You can see the actual conditions. You know the bird actually lived outdoors at low density. This costs significantly more money and is harder to find, but the label and the reality are aligned. Second, Market Basket brand chicken that is raised under certified conditions passes all 4 checks. The branding is minimal. The conditions are verified by third parties. You are not paying for imagery and marketing. You are paying for verified conditions and transparency. Third, Applegate Farms chicken is certified humane and antibiotic-free with meaningful standards. The certification means specific requirements, not vague promises. The label discloses actual conditions. The cost is higher, but you are paying for transparency and verified welfare. Fourth, Harvestland Organic Chicken from Organic Valley is raised under certified organic conditions with third-party auditing. The labeling is honest about what organic means and what it does not mean. The conditions are better than conventional, not perfect, but verified. The price reflects the actual cost of the conditions, not marketing premium. Now you understand the deception pattern completely. The front label is marketing and storytelling. The ingredient panel is actual reality. The gap between them reveals whether you are making an informed choice or being manipulated by imagery and language. The next time you buy chicken, do not trust the front of the package. Flip it over immediately. Read the ingredient panel carefully. Check what is actually listed. Look for added water and sodium compounds. Understand what any claims or certifications actually require. Search for third-party verification that is meaningful. Check whether the brand will disclose specific information about where the chicken comes from and how it was raised. That investigation takes 30 seconds, and it will absolutely change what you put in your cart. Because once you understand how the chicken category works, once you recognize the gap between what labels promise and what ingredients reveal, you start seeing the same pattern in every protein category and beyond. Premium branding hiding industrial conditions, imagery and emotional language substituting for transparency, certifications that sound impressive but mean less than they suggest, higher prices justified by marketing rather than actual product differences. The chicken aisle is just one example, but it is one where the deception is systematic and the gap between perception and reality is enormous and significant. Start reading the ingredient panels. Start asking questions about where the chicken actually comes from. Start understanding the difference between what a label promises and what the product actually delivers. Because once you see the pattern, you cannot unsee it. And once you cannot unsee it, you cannot go back to trusting branding over information. The choice is yours. But make it with your eyes open to the reality.